Hello and welcome everybody to another awesome adventure. I'm National Master Jesse Cohen. This is Summit School of Chess, and this is another Quick Bites video. Today, I want to go over a really famous master game. I'll tell you right now that the number one way that I've gotten better at chess is going over master games, and this is one of the best ones, I think. This is an old game between the first world champion, Wilhelm Steinitz, and a really famous opponent named Curt von Bardeleben. Now, the reason that this game is so famous in particular is that at a certain point during the game, von Bardeleben, and this is just a story, I don't know if there's any validity to this, but the story is that he became so upset, disgusted with what was about to happen on the chessboard that he simply left the playing hall, he left the tournament, and he never came back to chess again. And Steinitz was said to demonstrate to the spectators what should have been the conclusion to the game, and we'll look at that too. Let's jump in right away. We've got a Gioco piano, e4, e5, Knight f3, Knight c6, Bishop c4 Italian. This is one of the most popular openings in the world. You should definitely give it a try. Bishop c5. This is typically the way that I personally recommend playing this opening if you don't want to encounter the fried liver attack with Knight g5. Pawn c3. This is definitely by far and away the most popular way to play this opening. If you play the Gioco piano, you should definitely be playing it in this manner. The idea behind c3 is to prepare that move d4, which is going to take the entire center from black. Knight f6, this is correct. Pawn d4, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, bishop to b4 check, knight c3, the Greco attack. Now, at the time, this wasn't really that known about, but white is offering the sacrifice of a pawn should black take it. Notice that the knight on c3 is not really defending the pawn on e4 because it's pinned to the king. And actually, black is best to simply take on e4. And this leads into a wild, complicated variation where, for the most part, if black knows exactly how to play, black can be all right. But all it takes is one trip up. But this was not known about in those times, but something that black did understand was that if your opponent has this full pawn center, you've got to strike it back. So he played pawn to d5, pawn takes pawn, knight takes back. And again, having the threat on c3 with two attackers and one defender. But again, hey, Rookman, what's up, J-Key? In this position is just so open. There's almost no pawns on the in the middle, which means that things are going to happen incredibly fast. And so instead of taking the time to defend this, we simply castle and get our king out of the center. I mean, that looks pretty juicy, right? And it would be a huge mistake for black to actually start getting too greedy. For example, if black plays moves like knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, this king is going to get totally ransacked in the center after an amazing move like queen to b3, completely and outright hanging this rook on a1 because I believe here, let me just double check, I believe here, yeah, that bishop takes a1, and I believe here that after, bishop takes f7 check, king to f8, bishop to a3 check, knight to e7, and you can probably just play rook e1 right away. However, you can probably even get away with rook takes a1 then back to e1 because this is just like absolutely crushing for black. It's going to be game over pretty quickly. Yeah, Rookman, you're absolutely on top of that. And so instead, he correctly plays, I think, bishop e6. He's just trying to develop, guard his knight on d5. Again, in open positions like this, what's going to need to be your guide is development, development, development. In, basically, the less pawns in the middle, the person who has more pieces out and can keep attacking is almost always the side that's going to win. Bishop g5. Again, developing, striking the queen, and daring black to make a critical mistake. In this position, black could easily try to solve this issue of the bishop by blocking with the f-pawn. But remember, whenever a pawn is moved, it forever leaves behind a couple squares. And in this case, it leaves behind e6. After moves like either queen e2 or rook e1, it's just not going to be worth it on this open file leading to the king. And so instead, bishop to e7 is played. Now, here is an important moment. And a big part about being a master, I hope that you all take a second with me right now, okay? A big part about being a master is just calculating. I'm not going to lie. Like, a big part of what we do is just look at all the different ways that things can go down. There's bishop takes bishop, bishop takes knight, knight takes knight. There are a lot of captures on this board. Are we supposed to play one of them? If so, which one are we supposed to play and why, okay? Normally, in a situation like this, I might actually go through each and every way to exchange pieces just to see what might happen. And that's exactly what Steinitz does, and he finds the following way to go. He plays take, 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 take. Now, why did he choose this order? Because after all these moves, rook e1. This isn't like some sort of crushing move. And it's not that black is like completely losing at this point. But again, one of the ways I like to think about chess is like chess in a big way is like trying to create unpleasant problems for your opponents to have to solve, and either they can't solve them or sometimes they just get so burdened down by the weight of one problem after another that they simply collapse. And so the burden is, how are you supposed to castle? If you castle, you're going to lose your knight. So f6 is played. Actually a very, very clever move. The idea behind this is maybe the king can just play king f7 and rook e8 and castle manually the long way. Queen e2. Activating the queen, good idea. Doubling up with the rook, great idea. And threatening checkmate, great idea. I am a big proponent when it comes to getting to play chess moves that I want to play that also make attacks. So for example, this is a great move regardless of the fact. And in addition, it makes that threat, which gains time. Queen back to d7. Rook to c1. When in doubt, take your worst piece and make it better. That rook on a1 was doing nothing. On c1, it is a beautiful, beautiful piece. Now here is actually where black makes what is by some people determined to maybe be the critical mistake here. And what it is that in this position, black should have played king to f7 and gotten out of this pin and gotten ready to castle manually by hand by playing moves like rook to e8, stuff like that. And we're not so concerned if white starts throwing checks at us. We can block with the nice knight on d5, and it blockades there well, and everything is going to be okay. We're going to play rook e8, and things are going to be fine. But it is possible, just possible, that black might have not liked the following variation. Queen takes e7, queen takes e7, rook takes e7, king takes e7, rook takes c7, check. And after the king moves, for example, to e6, black is going to snag another pawn. I'm not saying that this is winning necessarily, but Steinitz has 2 pawns for the missing piece and has the more active rook and already has more threats. This might have been an unpleasant possibility for black. So black played the move pawn to c6 in this position, which makes sense anyway. It shuts down the rook, it reinforces that square where the knight wants to go to. It does a lot of good things, except for what's about to happen, okay? Now put yourself in white shoes in this position. All your pieces are ready to go. Everything is pretty much ready to go, except kind of this knight. The queen and the rook nicely piled up in here. This rook, pretty decent. This knight, not so great. And we want to play with all of our pieces in chess, okay? Not to mention, let's think about this. White's advantage is, hey, I've got 5 active pieces and you've got 2. As a master, we've got to be able to recognize short-term advantages from long-term advantages and be able to utilize them correctly and efficiently. In this position, with a short, lasting advantage, we've got to use it quickly, okay? Some suggestions Rookman is thinking is maybe like rook c3 to e3. That's not a bad idea, but after like rook to c3, king to f7, rook to e3, and knight to d5, unfortunately, as nice as Alekhine's gun seems to be, we just don't have the breakthrough that we're hoping for. Other ideas that were being suggested, like maybe like knight to h4. Again, after king f7, this move just keeps happening over and over again. and it's kind of hard to see how to continue. We can meet moves like queen h5 check with g6, and we're going to be okay. The move that's super, super amazing and super important here is d5. This move is phenomenal. It really, really is phenomenal, okay? What's the idea? Well, if you do nothing, if you absolutely do nothing, then I'm going to start taking more stuff, and I'm going to open more pathways of attack where I'm trying to get at you, okay? Remember, this is like attacking principle 101. If you're trying to attack someone in a certain area of the board, you got to trade pawns. It's going to open up your pieces so you can go attack, okay? But here's the main point. C takes d5. This is the main move here. Knight d4. Now this move might seem super innocent in first, except that the knight isn't going to stay there. King f7, knight e6. Now that is a powerful piece. That knight is just sitting in black's territory, launching devastation from all around, trying to play moves like rook to c7 supported by the knight, which will start lining up with that king, and all of this. It is going to be nasty. It really, really is. Rook h to c8. Naturally, black is trying to activate the pieces as fast as humanly possible and follow the classic strategy. When you are up in points, you want to swap pieces evenly. Black just wants to trade off the rooks, trade them all off, and then make this attack go away and just solidify this position and use that extra pawn to win the game. But we just can't give black that time. Queen to g4. Again, white's advantage is short-lasting. We have to keep it going fast. This move is intending to play queen takes g5 or g7 check, guarded by the knight, but black's got to be super, super careful here because notice that we've also lined up with black's unprotected queen on d7. Suddenly, there's maybe ideas of knight g5 checks in the air. Technically speaking, the king could go back to save the queen, but that's going to walk right in the line of fire, and that might just not be what is going to help out black. Pawn to g6 tries to stop the devastation. Knight g5 check. King to e8. Again, if you take this knight, you are selling your queen out. King e8 is the only move to save it. And now, here, stop the video if you're watching this on rerun, or take a moment right now and really, really think. A big part of being a chess master, first, let me just say this. What is the fastest way to get better at chess? If you've looked at any of my videos or you've been around chess at all, you know that doing tactics, solving puzzles, is the fastest way to get better at chess. And you also know, if you've stuck around, that when you build up a really good position, like this one, where things just seem really, really good, white's queen is better than black's queen. White's rook is better than this rook. The only two pieces that are even comparable are these rooks. This knight is way better than that knight. This king is way less safe than that king. Almost every single thing is in your favor. When you have this feeling like your position is just built up into this really nice thing, and you're like, this should just be winning. My position is just so good. You should be able to find a combination or tactic or winning attack to justify that feeling you have inside. And you should take a moment and you should stop and you should look for those tactics, those checks, those captures, those threats, those clues, anything to launch that attack. And you should search diligently to try and find that win. And if you really search hard, and I mean really, 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 really search hard, hours and hours, and you just can't find it, then you'll have to accept that maybe your position wasn't as good as you thought it was. And even if that's the case, it's a big win, because that means you're going to judge that position better the next time you see it. In this position, though, if you've been having some spidey chess sense tinglies of like, I think there's a winning move here for white, your senses are on the ball. Rook takes e7 check. White's position is just so good. It's just so good. It's only natural that there would be a devastating move to follow it up. Now, this kind of move has to be calculated well. Let's take a look. First of all, if black were to play the move queen takes rook, the queen would stop blocking white's queen. And after rook takes back, queen takes check, queen forced. We have a variety of ways to finish off this game, but the simplest is to simply trade the queens and save the knight check and probably blockade and get the king involved, and we're just up a knight and we're going to win the game. There's also the possibility of playing the move king takes. Now I might need a little assistance because this does get a little bit complicated. I believe this is like pretty much forced mate or close thereof, but yeah, queen before check. I'll have to revisit this. And yeah, at this position, if there's the move king to d8, then there's queen f8 check, queen e8, queen d6, oh sorry, knight f7 check, king d7, and queen d6 checkmate, which is actually really important. Burn this into your brain because it's going to come back. And now here's what actually happened in the game. So with all of this not being actually takeable, von Bardeleben played king f8. Rook f7 check. Again, untakeable. If rook takes, despite the fact that this is constantly a threat of back rank checkmate, we play rook takes, rook check. It doesn't work. If that king goes back, now it's just checkmate. So he goes again. Check. This is just devastating at this point. Again, if queen takes rook, rook takes rook, check. If king takes rook, queen takes queen, check. If king f8, it's not going to help anything. If king f8, knight takes h7 check. And either king e8, queen d7 mate, or king takes rook, queen takes queen check. And there's still, because it's check, no time to actually finish white off. And then this is what happened in the game, which was king h8, rook takes h7 check. And in this position, here's how the story goes. Von Bardeleben saw the position and in disgust got up and left the tournament hall and never came back. And Steinitz basically showed everyone how this game was supposed to finish. Here is what was supposed to happen. He says it's supposed to go king g8, check again, king h8, check, take, check, forced, check, forced, check, forced, check, just making sure here. Oh, check, forced. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Check, forced, here. Yeah, no problem. Just like, 9-move checkmate in advance after all that. No big deal, right? So, yeah, this is a pretty amazing game, okay? So, why do I like to look at these games? Well, first of all, personally, when I see chess like this, I get inspired. I think to myself, I want to play a cool game of chess like that. But something else is, I just get to see how masters conduct themselves and handle different advantages. Again, in this game, the main takeaway is this. Steinitz was able to make a position early on during the chess game that gave his opponent difficulties, and that this was the first position. When he played rook e1, making it so his opponent could not castle because they would lose their knight. He was able to increase his advantage in development while black had to take time to stop and consolidate. And then he understood that his advantage was short-lasting and had to blow open the position, sink his knight into a great square, and then his spidey sense tinglies had to go off and sense, boom, my position is just too good. I should have a combination here. And well, White was able to seal the deal and make one of the most remarkable games in chess history. I'm telling you, if you ask almost any chess master about this, they probably have heard of this because it is that famous. So anyway, I hope that you were able to take something away from this. By the way, everybody, tomorrow is the Colorado 2021 Online Scholastic State Championship. You've got to tune in. We're covering the entire thing here, and I'm so excited. So we're going to be broadcasting here as soon as 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we're going to be going all day until 7 p.m. So yeah, come check us out. It's going to be a good time. I will see you guys then.